50 earthquakes. One day. Oregon border to Mexico. The entire state shaking, twitching, cracking. A magnitude 5.6 cracked roofs near San Francisco. The ground moved in the Bay Area. Southern California buzzed all day long. And through all of it, the most dangerous fault in America said absolutely nothing. Not a tremor, not a whisper, nothing. And that silence, that complete, total, perfect silence, is the most frightening thing on the entire map. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will never look at a quiet fault the same way again. At 8:10 in the morning on June 24th, 2026, the ground under Mendocino County stopped pretending to be still. People in Ukiah were pouring coffee, merging onto the highway, standing in line at the gas station, doing the small, unremarkable things that fill the first hour of a workday. And then the floor moved, not a soft roll, not the gentle sway Californians have learned to sleep through. A sharp, vertical jolt, the kind that throws a coffee cup off the counter before your brain has finished deciding what is happening. A magnitude 5.6 earthquake had just ruptured the rock beneath the hills north of town. 8 kilometers down, shallow enough that its energy had almost no distance to travel before it arrived, full force at the surface. The felt zone stretched over 100 miles in every direction. San Jose felt it. Sacramento felt it. At least one roof caved in near Redwood Valley. Reports of cracked walls and shattered windows flooded in within minutes, and almost immediately, the USGS confirmed what the instruments had already measured. This was a strike-slip rupture on the Macama Fault, 2 enormous blocks of crust grinding sideways past each other. Snapping after years of locked strain finally exceeded what the rock could hold. But here is what nobody said out loud while everyone was looking at Ukiah. The Macama is not the fault that should scare you. Pull back from Ukiah. Take your eye off that single red dot near Redwood Valley. And look at the entire state of California on the same day. 50 earthquakes in one 24-hour window. Oregon border to Mexico. Faults twitching, snapping, releasing small bursts of stored energy, one after another, after another. A cluster near the Calaveras-San Andreas junction in the Bay Area. Small quakes firing off right at the mechanical seam where one major fault hands its stress to another. Activity near Ridgecrest in Southern California, the same region that produced a magnitude 7.1 in 2019. Scattered shaking along the San Jacinto fault zone. Movement near old fracture scars outside Bakersfield. The entire western edge of the continent, flickering with activity top to bottom. Now here is what most people get wrong about a day like this. 50 earthquakes sounds apocalyptic. It is not. California averages roughly 500 earthquakes of magnitude 2.5 or greater every single month. Small earthquakes are not the exception on a plate boundary. They are the background hum of a state being torn in 2 directions at once. A busy day on the surface, normal by any standard measure. But the location of these clusters, not the number, is what a seismologist circles in red. The Bay Area Junction, the Southern California Scars, the Triple Junction near Cape Mendocino, all talking, all moving, all releasing small amounts of stress into the surrounding rock. And the stress they released did not disappear. It redistributed, it transferred, it nudged every connected fault on the same system, slightly, toward or away from its own breaking point, including the 2 faults that produced 0 earthquakes that day. Here is the thing almost nobody outside seismology truly understands. On a fault that is known to be storing energy, silence is not the absence of danger. Silence is what maximum danger sounds like. The San Andreas Fault, the most famous fault line on Earth, spent the entire day of 50 earthquakes saying absolutely nothing. No tremors, no clusters, no signal of any kind. And the instinct is relief. The scary fault is calm. The dangerous one is sleeping. But a seismologist looks at that same quiet and feels the opposite of relief. Because a locked fault produces exactly this kind of silence, right up until the instant it destroys everything. Here is why. The Pacific Plate is grinding northwest past the North American Plate at roughly 1.5 inches every year. It never stops. It never rests. And if the fault is locked, if the two sides are jammed together by friction, that motion does not disappear. It accumulates, stored in the bent, straining rock like a drawn bow, year after year, decade after decade. The northern San Andreas last released its full strain in 1906. That earthquake, magnitude 7.9, ruptured 300 miles of fault in under a minute. The shaking broke the gas lines. The broken gas lines started fires. The fires burned for 3 days because the same earthquake had snapped the water mains needed to fight them. 80% of San Francisco was destroyed. That was 120 years ago. Do the math. 1.5 inches per year for 120 years. 15 feet of accumulated plate motion stored in locked rock, waiting. The southern San Andreas last released in 1857. That is over 160 years of silence. More than 20 feet of stored offset, ready. And on June 24th, both sections spent the loudest seismic day of the year doing exactly what a loaded locked fault does. Nothing. The San Andreas gets the headlines. But there is another fault in this system that keeps seismologists awake at night. The Hayward Fault. It does not run through open country or along the coast. It runs directly underneath Oakland, Berkeley, Hayward, Fremont. Through freeways, gas lines, hospitals, apartment buildings, and schools. Beneath the homes of more than 2 million people. And it keeps a schedule. Scientists have dug trenches across the Hayward and dated its past earthquakes going back over 1,000 years. What they found was a fault that breaks on a remarkably consistent rhythm, roughly every 140 years, like a metronome. The last time the Hayward produced a major earthquake was October 21st, 1868. Do that arithmetic. 1868 to 2026. 158 years. The Hayward's average interval is 140. We are not approaching the historical schedule. We are already past it. The USGS has run detailed disaster simulations for a magnitude 7 on the Hayward. The findings: approximately 800 deaths, tens of thousands injured, over $100 billion in damage. Hundreds of fires igniting across the East Bay simultaneously. Water systems rupturing so badly that some communities could be without reliable water for months. The entire modern Bay Area, every overpass, pipeline, hospital, and school has been built entirely during the Hayward's current silence. It has no lived memory of what happens when that silence ends. And on June 24th, it produced nothing. Perfectly, ominously quiet, doing exactly what an overdue, loaded, locked fault does right up until it doesn't. 50 earthquakes shook California on June 24th. The Macama cracked roofs near Ukiah. The Bay Junction crackled. Southern California buzzed from Ridgecrest to Bakersfield. And the two faults carrying the most stored energy in the country, the San Andreas holding more than a century of strain, the Hayward running beneath 7 million people and past due by its own 1,000-year schedule, said nothing at all. That is the inversion at the heart of this story. We are wired to fear the thing that moves, the earthquake we feel, the needle that jumps. But on a plate boundary like California, the felt earthquake is the fault doing its job, releasing pressure, venting, talking. The thing to fear is the fault that does not move, the locked segment, the silent stretch, the drawn bow that has been bending for over a century. California has built Shake Alert, one of the finest early warning systems ever deployed. When the big fault finally breaks, it will send alerts to millions of phones. Those alerts will arrive seconds before the shaking does. Not hours, not days, seconds. Because even the finest instruments on Earth cannot detect a rupture until it has already begun. We can watch the fault being loaded. We cannot read the moment it will release. We know it is coming. We have known for decades. The ground simply will not tell us the day. So here is the only honest thing left to say. The next time California gets loud, Do not only watch the place that is shaking, watch the place that isn't. Because somewhere under the Bay Area, under the freeways and the hospitals and the homes of 7 million people, the most dangerous fault in America is holding its breath. And the silence is not the absence of the signal. The silence is the signal.